The Vraxian High Command had seen the footage 17 times now, and still none of them could explain what had happened on Kepler 442b. Admiral Zefkar's mandibles clicked nervously as he replayed the battlefield recordings on the holographic display, his 6 eyes focused intently on the impossible scene unfolding before the War Council. "Explain this to me again, Commander Nextul," Zefkar growled, his voice carrying the weight of 3 decades of military experience. "How does a creature that consumed our entire 3rd Legion simply—" "Lie down." Commander Nextul, his carapace still bearing scars from the retreat, shifted uncomfortably. "Sir, we deployed the Devourer as planned. Initial results were exceptional. The beast consumed approximately 4,000 human soldiers within the first hour of deployment. The hologram showed grainy footage of something that defied classification, a writhing mass of dark matter and teeth, roughly the size of a city block, moving across the battlefield like a living hurricane. Human defensive positions crumbled before it. Plasma cannons, antimatter charges, even their primitive nuclear weapons had no effect. The creature simply absorbed everything, growing larger with each battalion it consumed. The humans scattered as expected," Nextul continued. "Their military commanders issued a full retreat. Standard terror protocol was working perfectly, and then—" The commander's voice trailed off as the hologram shifted to show a small figure walking across the devastated landscape. A human child, no more than 7 or 8 years old by their species reckoning, picking her way through the rubble with the careful steps of someone navigating a playground. The child approached the devourer directly, Nextul said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "No weapons, no technology. She simply walked up to it." Admiral Zefkar watched as the massive creature, which had been pursuing fleeing human forces just moments before, suddenly stopped. Its countless eyes, each the size of a transport vessel, focused on the tiny figure approaching it. The council held their collective breath as the child raised her small hand and gently touched what could only be described as the beast's nose. What happened next had prompted 3 separate investigations by Vraxian military intelligence. The Devourer, the ultimate weapon that had taken their scientists 40 years to create, that had been designed to consume entire civilizations, simply lay down. Like a pet being scratched behind the ears, the creature's massive form settled onto the ground with surprising gentleness, careful not to crush the small human who now sat beside its enormous head. "Sir," interrupted Science Officer Velthar, his voice trembling slightly, "I've completed my analysis of the child's biometric data. There's nothing unusual about her. No psychic abilities, no technological enhancements. She's completely ordinary by human standards." "Then how?" "That's not the strangest part, sir." Velthar manipulated the holographic controls, zooming in on the child's face. She was smiling, completely unafraid as she patted the creature that had just devoured an army. The Devourer's neural patterns show complete submission. Not paralysis, not mind control. Voluntary submission. Admiral Zefkar's claws scraped against the metal table. In all his years of studying human warfare, he had never encountered anything like this. Humans were supposed to be predictable, violent, territorial, but ultimately limited by their primitive emotions and short lifespans. This didn't fit any known pattern. "What happened next?" he demanded. "The child spoke to it," Nextul replied, consulting his datapad. "Our translation algorithms picked up fragments. She called it lonely and scared, then she sang to it." The hologram showed the impossible scene. A human child sitting beside a creature of mass destruction, singing what appeared to be a simple melody. The Devourer's eyes, those terrible, hungry eyes that had stared unblinking at entire armies, slowly closed. Within minutes, the beast was asleep. "It wouldn't respond to our commands after that," Nextul continued. "Every attempt to reactivate its hunting protocols failed. The creature now follows the child wherever she goes. Our ground forces report that it acts as her guardian." Science Officer Velthar brought up additional footage showing human civilian populations, families, children, elderly humans, walking freely around the now docile creature. Some of the children were even playing on its back, using its massive form as playground equipment. "I've studied this species for decades," Admiral Zefkar said slowly. "Humans are warriors. They're aggressive, expansionist, destructive. But this child, she didn't try to fight the Devourer. She didn't try to control it or destroy it. She simply befriended it, sir," Velthar finished. According to our xenobiological analysis, humans possess an unusual capacity for forming emotional bonds with other species. They domesticate predators, care for creatures that serve no practical purpose, even risk their lives to save animals that cannot reciprocate. Are you saying this child defeated our ultimate weapon with kindness? The psychological profile suggests that's exactly what happened, sir. The devourer was engineered to feel only hunger, but apparently even artificial creatures can experience loneliness. The child recognized this and responded with compassion rather than fear. Admiral Zefkar stared at the hologram for a long moment. The War Council waited in silence as their leader processed the implications. Finally, he spoke. "Update our strategic assessment of humanity," he ordered. "Any species capable of turning our deadliest weapons into their protectors through simple acts of kindness is far more dangerous than we initially calculated." "Sir?" Commander Nextel looked confused. "Are you suggesting we retreat?" "I'm suggesting we surrender," Admiral Zefkar replied grimly. "If a single human child can accomplish what our armies could not, if they can transform monsters into guardians through compassion alone, then we're not fighting a war. We're fighting evolution itself." The hologram flickered off, leaving the War Council in darkness. Somewhere on Kepler 442b, a human child was teaching a creature of nightmares how to play fetch. The Vraxian Empire had finally met their match. Not in humanity's weapons, but in their inexplicable ability to find family in the most unlikely places.